25 июня 2026 года. Сегодня приезжал представитель «Слуг народа». Вчера со мной встретились люди, представители высоких чинов Министерства обороны, силовых структур, и передали сообщение Владимиру Владимировичу Путину, что если он не даст аудиенцию в прямом эфире, где я расскажу всю правду, что у нас сейчас происходит в стране. В данный момент десятки, сотни, тысячи наших солдат сидят в зинданах, наказанные своими командирами. Сидят, гниют, подвергаются пыткам и насилию со стороны так называемых гестапо. За то, что они отказались выполнять тупые самоубийственные приказы, за то, что они отказались отдавать свои финансовые средства. И в конечном итоге их обнуляют, делают без вести пропавшими. Владимир Владимирович, обратите на это внимание, пригласите меня к себе. Последствия будут очень серьезные. Если в ближайшее время я не приеду в Кремль и не выступлю в прямом эфире рядом с вами, армия развернет свое оружие против Кремля. Я передаю только сообщение. У меня все.
Well, this apparently is happening once again. Hey there, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters, and we're covering today the dissatisfaction with Putin in the Russian military. There's been a number of statements that came out from the Russian soldiers. One you have just seen before, and there's actually a couple more, and overall the tendency in the Russian military are not going Putin's way. So let's talk about all of these dissents and see whether or not this is really gonna impact Putin in any way. Let me start by reading you another one of these. This one is from the Russian Telegram channel. And it says, "We, the officers of Russia, must not repeat the mistake of 1917, which was the Russian Revolution when the Soviets came to power, when during a change of power, the officers stood aside from the struggle of it. And in the end, the Reds seized the power, while Russia fell behind the leading countries of the West for decades. Now the threat is even greater. If social groups that think only about profit come to power, there is every chance that Russia will turn into a colony of China." It already is, but we're not going to talk about this one. "We, the officers of Russia, for the sake of the future of our country and the future of our children, must not allow this. Right now, Putin's vertical power structure is being shaken and it's close to collapse. Comrade officers, be ready to take power in the country into your own hands. If we do not take power in Russia, then all of us, all our relatives and loved ones, and our entire common Russia will face decline, disintegration, and oblivion. Comrade officers, join the Committee of Officers of Russia." Now, do these two statements really make the day? Do they really threaten Putin right now? I don't really believe so. I believe that right now these people specifically that posted these texts and recorded these videos don't really have the actual power necessary to topple Putin. After Prigozhin's coup, Putin did put additional tightening measures specifically against any kind of coup, and right now, especially the people that are threatening Putin, they are not anywhere close to power. But I think more important here is the tendency. We've talked extensively about the possibility for something bad happening in Russia, and it was about creating the right conditions for a very long time. I explained that Russians were sort of obscured from a lot of the things that were happening on the front line because Russians were considering that this is something that's happening with the volunteers that signed the contracts themselves. Now the Russian civilians are sort of in this and they're being threatened. It's important to underscore that there is a lot of dissatisfaction with Putin's governance right now in Russia on all levels. And I believe here we start seeing this layering happens, where not only the lower levels, like this common soldiers, which usually are dissatisfied with how the fighting is going on the front lines, but also the higher ups, like the officers, are dissatisfied with the orders that they need to take and the conditions they're finding themselves in. But more importantly, we start seeing Ukraine specifically targeting the Russian oligarchs, people that can actually sort of help bolster up these powers and let them spill sort of inside of Russia. What is not happening right now, and this is probably the biggest condition that's going to be important for us to try to note, Russian oligarchs would be okay backing some of these forces if they would understand if these forces come to power, they will start seeing less chaos and maybe more normalization. Whereas so far, the statements that we saw, they are promising more chaos and more disruption inside of the Russian economy. That goes sort of against the overall principles of what is really expected from the forces that would resist Putin. Putin has been selling the stability narrative for very long inside of Russia, so now it is very hard to break this narrative by proposing something else. And I think this is specifically what Ukraine is targeting. We see that President Zelensky and his office are specifically trying to target some kind of audience inside of Russia, stating that we will take Crimea back, we will definitely attack more Russian infrastructure, we will make the crisis in your country worse. And the tone of President Zelensky has been switching extensively. Just yesterday he announced there is going to be a 40-day special economic operation on Russia, where they will gonna start screwing Russians over on their economics. This is crucial for us all, and this is a crucial messaging that Zelensky is sending. He is telling basically all of the people in power that can go into those dissatisfied masses that you can see are even now completely breaking through the Kremlin's narratives. They are stating openly that they will go against Putin, and they want to create, and the job of Ukrainians right now is to create a pathway for all of these dissatisfied powers to find some kind of consensus and finally go on and topple Putin. The strongman unfortunately is not present. Prigozhin was sort of a one of the kind, and so far there is no one like that is present on the political stage. Most likely it could be some of the politicians or the oligarchs that could be proposed to essentially take the charge and be in control of Russia. And that will be precisely what Zelensky and his special operation in Russia will target. So as you can see, dissatisfaction in Russia is growing. Russia is struggling. There is a lot of indicators out there that are stating that Russia is not doing well. And the fact that they are openly criticizing Putin on the social media is already a big tell. A quick addition from the future Georgie here. The guy in the first video that we have for today actually got a continuation. A person named Vitaly Borodin, who is linked to the Russian propaganda and basically has been a pro-Putin fighter, reached out to this guy and invited him to Moscow. This guy, being the simple doofus as he is, basically accepted as a major victory and says that now he's gonna tell it how it is, and the whole country will hear the truth, and everyone will suddenly understand how bad things are going, and Putin will finally hear how bad the things are going, and it's gonna be good. As I said, the guy is just a complete doofus, doesn't have even 2 brain cells operational, and it's gonna go absolutely nowhere. But the important thing here is what we are actually observing and what kind of language is coming out from the Russians themselves. Trust in Ukraine, support Ukrainian armed forces. I love you. Slava Ukraini. Join the fundraiser, and I will see you next time.